Hello, my name is Joel, and welcome back to my YouTube channel, Shared Deck. Today I'm going to be doing a Commander deck, and this time is for Daretti Scrap Savant. So, this deck is all about reanimating artifacts, big, powerful artifacts, and just trying to overwhelm our opponents with it. As all of my decks, I try to win through outvaluing my opponent, or just attacking through creatures by attacking with a bigger creature. And hopefully we'll be closing out the game. So with that, we'll go through with the commander. So we got Daretti, Scrap Savant. So if you're not familiar with him, we'll go through his abilities. So +2, it's pretty much like Fateless Looting, where you discard 2 cards and you draw 2 cards. So it's not the greatest, but it does fill up your graveyard. So if you have an opening hand of a couple of big artifacts that you just want to dump and try to cycle them, and hopefully you'll be able to get into some mana rocks or lands. So that's a good way of doing it. The -2, sacrifice an artifact. If you do, return an artifact from your graveyard to the battlefield. Straightforward, very good ability. The -10, we don't really get that often, since they really want to, once they see the ready, they want to get rid of it right away. So, which is understandable. But if you do get the emblem, whenever an artifact is put into your graveyard from the battlefield, return that card to the battlefield at the end of your end step. So this is so we're not using a Mindslaver lock on this deck. So like I said, it's a very casual deck. It's not too powerful. So with that, let's go through our alternate commander. So we got Pia and Kiran Nalaar. So if you do kind of get tired of playing Daretti, or if you feel like you're getting pretty much like picked on, you just swapped out to this commander. It is more of an enabler than anything. So whenever they come into play, they produce 2 top tier fodder tokens, so which gets sacrificed, and then you do have a way to sacrifice an artifact, put an artifact into the graveyard, and try to reanimate it in a later turn, which this deck really does take advantage of. So with that, we'll go through the section where it lets us reanimate artifacts. Since the commander already has that ability, so we're not using too much of them. So we pretty much just use these cards if the ready is in the command zone. So we got Scarecrow. You pay 4. You put an artifact creature from your graveyard to play, or you can sacrifice a Scarecrow, draw a card. Very versatile. So we got Goblin Welder, Scrap Mastery. So this is pretty much like a Living Death, but for artifacts. So Trash for Treasure. This is pretty much Daretti's -2 ability. And we got Fateless Looting. Again, this is Daretti's +2 ability. So, but it also has flashback, so it's not bad. So that's an advantage. We got Trading Posts. So these are the cards that will let us put let us put artifacts into the graveyard and try to reanimate them. So we got Trading Post, Audacious Reshapers. So this is kind of a double-edged sword, since if we're in the late game and we have a lot of mana rocks and we got nothing going on, you can just sacrifice an artifact and hopefully we'll be able to hit a big artifact creature that will let us at least delay the game for us to recover. So, but it does put artifacts in the graveyard for us to reanimate again. Need be. Kuldota Forge Master, Breya's Apprentice. So this is an underrated card for this deck, I believe. It does enters the battlefield with a top tier token, and at the same note, its first ability, where you sacrifice an artifact, choose 1. The first ability is what we care the most, since Daretti empties our hand really quick, and we have to have ways to kind of still be in the game. And having Breya's Apprentice It's very good. And then we do have a couple of ways that lets us produce artifacts for them to get sacrificed for. So Spark Hunter Masticore. So this is pretty much just a planeswalker killer. And then also whenever you cast it, you get to discard a card. So we're here at the beefy artifact creatures. So we got Wormcoil Engine. It's not bad. It's very good. Bosch Iron Golem. We do have a couple of artifacts that has very high converted mana cost. So this will be dealing a considerable amount of damage. Tormund's Crypt Keeper. So this one kind of hoses graveyard decks. And we do have a couple of ways to keep recurring them. So just pretty much just gets them off balance. Platinum Angel pretty much delays the game for us. So if you don't have anything going on, plop this down. Hopefully you'll be able to catch up before they be able to find a way to get rid of it. It'll probably give us like 1 or 2 turns. Pretty much the same with the Platinum Imperium. Pretty much just delays the game until we find a way to kind of like recover. Steal a Hellkite. Scuttling Doom Engine. So this, we do it like I said before, there is a lot of ways to sacrifice a creature than trying to putting them back. So there is a game that I was able to kill a player with this, but I had to sacrifice it like 3 times. Recur it, sacrifice it, recur it, sacrifice it again. So Triliplicate Titan. When it dies, you get to produce 3 golems of varying different abilities. So it's pretty good. It's also 9/9. Will definitely do some serious damage. Soul of New Pyrexia. So this one, it pretty much just protects our board. So it has trample, and then you pay 5 permanents. We control, gain indestructible until end turn. But the other ability, when it's in the graveyard ability, is very good. So if there's a way, if it's in the graveyard, you'll be able to just pay 5 and kind of surprise your opponents because they won't see it coming. With that, so with Soul of New Pyrexia, so you can pay the 5, all your permanents gain indestructible, and then you can pay the 1, destroy all artifacts, creatures, and enchantments with Nev's Disc ability. So with 6, you get to wipe the board and protect your board at the same time. So it's very good. Hopefully that'll be the opening that we need to kind of close out the game or do some massive amounts of damage with this deck. We're here in the board wipe section. I mean, Nev's Disc is the board wipe section. So we got all this dust, Starstorm, and Comet Storm. So with Comet Storm, it lets us, gives us that a little bit of reach that we need if we do need to pay that X spell to take out an opponent, or multiple opponents for that matter. Okay, so we got our pinpoint removal section. So we got Meteor Golem. Since we do have a lot of ways to kind of reanimate it, so we do get most of its enters the battlefield ability. Duplicate, same as Meteor Golem, and Chaos Warp. It's very good. So we're here at the miscellaneous stuff. So we got Hellkite Tyrant. It's an alternate win condition. Treasure Keeper. It's pretty much like Cascade, but it only does it when it dies. So Steel Overseer makes our artifact creatures bigger, which is what we want. Let's get a little bit closer here. Pilgrim's Eye, mana fixing, and it's a fodder too. Precursor Golem, pay 5. We put 2 more 3/3 Golem creatures. So again, pretty much more fodder for opponents or blockers. But it's a downside whenever they use an or a removal on it, it destroys all our golems. So Mycosynth Wellspring, mana fixing, Filigree Familiar, might as well get something out of it when it dies. And it kind of buffers our life total a little bit. Gain 2 life. Maya Retriever, when this dies, we return an artifact card from your graveyard to your hand, which is good regardless of mana costs. Scrap Trawler is a little bit more restrictive, but it's pretty much the same. So whenever an artifact dies, you can only return an artifact with a converted mana cost less than the artifact that went to the graveyard. Alright, we got Combustible Gearhole. Most of the time they just let me draw 3 cards, since as you can tell, I do have a lot of cards that cost a lot of mana. So Endless Atlas. Since this is a mono red deck, I do run a lot of mountains. I think I have 26 mountains, so which is very good for this deck. Especially if we do have an Unwinding Clock, which lets us untap each player's untap step. So gives us that card advantage and kind of covers up Daretti's weakness of just cycling through our hand real quick. Staff of Nin, pretty much the same. At the beginning of our upkeep, lets us draw a card, trying to cover up Daretti's or this deck's weakness. Draw a card with Deal Broker doesn't really gives us card advantage, but it is a card draw. It just lets us loot. You just draw a card and you discard the card, so it's card selection. Sandstone Oracle. So this is a very good card, especially if your opponent has a humongous hand, like 7 to 10 cards, and then you're only at 1 or 2, and just put down Sandstone Oracle. It's very good. Kind of puts us back in the game. Ruin Grinder, pretty much the same. So if we're in the early game, if we're short on lands, we can just cycle it away for a mountain. But in the late game, we could plop it down. It has mana, so has a little bit of unblockability. And when it dies, and we do sacrifice it, we get to discard our hand, which is probably at that time we won't have a whole lot. And it will let us draw 7 cards, but this also affects other players, so use it wisely. Quicksmith Genius. I put it in the card draw section, even though you have to discard a card first before you draw a card, but it's still card draw. Ichor Wellspring, Smuggler's Copter, pretty much the same. It kind of builds up our graveyard too. And Unwinding Clock, which I was talking to you earlier about Endless Atlas. This would give us the card advantage that we need to kind of keep up with the Joneses. So we got Retrofitter Foundry. This is what we use to kind of produce our fodder tokens. So Engineer, Top-Tier Engineer. Pretty much the same. When it enters the battlefield, you put a Top-Tier token, which will sacrifice it, and then all of our artifacts, creatures, have haste. Just not bad. Okay, we're here at the ramp section. So let's go through this real quick. So we got Curse Mirror. So we do have a lot of very good artifacts, creatures to be copied. So it's very good in the early game where it could act as ramp, or it could act as in the late game when we do have a very good creature in field. We can pretty much copy it, and then hopefully we'll be able to swing in and do some serious damage with it, especially if there's a Wormcoil Engine in the field. Alright, so we got Arcane Signet, Unstable Obelisk, Soul Ring, Fire Diamond, Fran Dynamo, Wayfarer's Bauble, Foundry Inspector, Iron Mire, Worn Power Stone, Hedron Archive, Mind Stone, Burnish Heart, Commander Spear, Prismatic Lens, and Solemn Simulacrum, and Coveted Jewel. So this, I put this in ramp, but it's more card draw really. Since if we do pay the 6, you get to draw 3 cards, or you get to 3 mana, or you can discard it early in the game, and then hopefully nobody will be attacking you, and so they won't get Coveted Jewel. But most of the time it just lets me draw 3 cards. And if you do feel like you're gonna get attacked and there's no way for you to block, then you just sacrifice it and get an extra ability. So with that, and another is Mire Landscape. So we got here at the non-basic lands. So we got Ghost Quarter, Pyrexia's Core, Darksteel Citadel, Great Furnace, Buried Ruin, Foundry of the Consoles, produces a top tier token for us to sacrifice. In a pinch, we could use Mishra's Factory. And then 26 mountains. Yep, 26 mountains. So with that, that concludes our deck tech for Daretti Scrap Savant. Hope you like it. Thank you for watching. So if you like this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Alright, thank you. Bye.